This is what we say on Leil Shabbos Friday night. We say this after Kabbalah Shabbos. We say Bama Madlikin. So we say Bama Madlikin, Uvama E Madlikin. What type of candles are you allowed to use when you light? What type of wicks? What type of oil? So the Mishnah explains: E Madlikin, Loi Belechesh, V'loi V'choisen, V'loi V'chalach. The Mishnah says you're not allowed to use certain types of wicks. And so it's lechesh and chalach and psila idon, the psila, the wick that's from idon, or psila from the midbar. So all these types of wicks are no good. And then it goes on to shemen tzreifa. So all these things are that the Mishnah is telling us for every Shabbos of the year. Bama madlikin. This is what you should make sure to make when, as you say to your wife, hadliku es haner. It says that you're supposed to tell your family 3 things before you go to shul. And one of them is hadliku es haner, to light the candle. So there we also go through the different ways of different oils that you're allowed to use and different oils that you're not allowed to use and different wicks. So that's the rules for Shabbos. Why can't you use certain wicks? Right? Let's say all these types of wicks, the lechesh, the choisen, the chalach. Why can't you use all these wicks? So the Gemara explains, number 2, Amar Rabbi, Psilais she'amru chachamim ein madlikan bahen b'Shabbos. The wicks that the chachamim said that you're not allowed to use them to light on Shabbos, mipnei she'ha'or misachseches bahen. The reason is because the light that will come out of that will flicker. Rashi says, number 4, Rashi explains misachseches kamen sakin peguma, like a knife that has jagged edges, so it goes up and down. So therefore, misachseches bebasar, it will cut jaggedly on the flesh. So that's called a sakin, a knife. I guess that's what he's saying, that the knife goes up and down. So too over here, he brings a word in French, on the mild belaz, she'ein oirei zokov. The light of these types of wicks and oils will not be zokov. It won't be clear, v'noyach, and it won't be easy, b'mokay mechad. It won't stay in one place. It will flicker up and down. El nidach v'koifetz. It will be koifetz. It will be jump. Okay, that's the first idea that Rashi says. So therefore, let's go back to the Gemara. So therefore, number 2, Rabbi says the reason why you can't use these types of wicks that are aser, that are forbidden in the Mishnah, is because because the light will flicker on and off, and we don't want that on Shabbos. Why not? We have to think about it. Shmanim, also the oils. There are certain oils which are not permitted on Shabbos. So what's the reason for them? Because they don't draw after the wick. It doesn't draw well. So the olden times, the way it went is that as the wick goes into oil, when it gets the fluid from the oil, then it gets the light. But if, let's say, the oil is not a good, it doesn't pick up well, so then it will start also to, you'll try to fix it. And Rashi says on number 4, the bottom line, and Rashi says, she'enim shachin, it doesn't flow, and therefore Rashi says, ve'asi lahatos, and you'll come to tilt it. You'll come to tilt it. What does he mean? So what's the problem if you come to tilt it? Right, what would the problem be? Shabbos. Because if you tilt the oil, let's say the wick is going into the oil, and it's not coming in so good, it's not nimshach, it's not flowing well, so it's a little bit, it's going out, it's flickering. So you might come to tilt the oil that the wick should go into the oil directly, and then it will be a better flame. The problem with that is that would be aser on Shabbos under the melacha called mavir. Mavir means lighting a fire. One's not allowed to light a fire, and one can't extinguish a fire. So that's why it says that you shouldn't put your menorah, like hang it on a door. The Mishnah Berurah says if you hang it on the doors, every time the door opens, so the oil is going to like slide and go up and down. And as it goes up, the flame might flicker out. That will be extinguishing a flame. That's kiboy. As it goes down, the flame will relight. That's mavir. So those two malachas on Shabbos, mavir and kiboy. So kiboy is extinguishing. In Eretz Yisrael they call it, right? They use it nowadays to, if they say turn off the light, or turn off the moneh. If you get in the taxi, they say yachal lechabot. Yachal lechabot means we're going to extinguish it. You can turn off the meter.
A fire truck in Hebrew is mechabeh esh.
Oh, mechabeh. So that's mechabeh. So this is called Mechaber, right? That's the name of extinguishing, which is one of the 39 malachas. And we're gonna take the word kavsa. Kavsa is if it extinguishes. Just keep that root in mind. So therefore, Rabbi says the reason why you can't use these wicks and these oils, the wicks because it's going to flicker, the oils because it won't flow well into it, and Rashi says on the bottom line number 4, ve'asi lahatais, and because it's not flowing well, you might come to tilt it, and if you tilt it, then on Shabbos, unwittingly, a person will come to do the malacha of mavir, which was the famous story that Rabbi Shmuel said, I could read, right, we say we're not supposed to read by the light of the candle on Shabbos because you might come to tilt it. So he said, I'm going to read by the light of the candle and I won't come to tilt it. And then he felt inside of himself that he was about to reach out and tilt it. He wanted to tilt the candle, and he said, the Chachamim are so great in their gezeirus, their takanas, what they decree, because I thought that I could read. Ani ekra v'lo yata. I'll read and I won't come to tilt it. And he said, I felt the urge to tilt it, and therefore he said, Kama chachamim gedolim. How great are they? So the chachamim, sometimes it says, you could be a prophet and you can know the future, or you could be a chacham. Chacham is better than a navi sometimes. A wise person is even better than a prophet, because a wise man also could foresee the future. Ezu chacham harayas anoiled. So our Rabbeim, they're able to tell us the future and say that no, you don't read by the light of the candle, you'll come to tilt it. So therefore Rashi says, Osi lahatis. You can't use these types of wicks and oils because you're going to come to tilt it and do the malacha of mavir. Now that's all for Shabbos. Now we get up to Chanukah. So the question is, what are you allowed to use? Is there any restrictions on what type of flame, what type of oil and wicks you could use on Chanukah? So on that comes Reb Huna, number 5. Reb Huna says, right? Amar Reb Huna. Hey, Mr. Gordon, we save for you the best seeds in the house. Amar Reb Huna. Please, come. Please, don't. I got a paper here. You got paper? Please, here, Mr. Janowski. Amar Reb Huna. Said Reb Huna. So now that we explained the introduction of what that for Shabbos you can't use certain wicks because you might come to tilt it. Now we say, what about Chanukah? So on that, number 5, Amar Reb Huna, Psilois u'shvanim she'amru, the wicks and the oils that the Chachamim said that you cannot, she'amru Chachamim, that the Chachamim said, Ei madlikin b'hem b'Shabbos, you're not allowed to light with them on Shabbos. Ei madlikin b'hem b'Chanukah, you're not allowed to light with them on Chanukah. Bein b'Shabbos, bein b'Chol, whether on Shabbos, whether on Chol. You're not allowed to use these oils. Reb Huna is extending the restriction on these types of weak oils, and they don't catch well. And the wicks, those weak wicks, you're not allowed to use it on Chanukah. Bein b'Shabbos, bein b'Chol. That's Reb Huna's statement. Reb Huna, he was one of the greatest Amoraim. So you have to remember here, we'll keep this in mind. So Reb Huna is the author of this statement. Okay? Reb Huna, Hey madlikim behem b'Chanukah. That means there's restrictions what type of wicks you could buy. Came along Rava, and Rava came to explain why did Reb Huna say this? What was his reason? Number 6, Amar Rava. Rava said, I'll tell you the reason of Reb Huna. What was going through his mind? Amar Rava, my time to Reb Huna, the reason of Reb Huna is because he holds kavsa zakokla. He holds kavsa if it extinguishes, lechabot, if the fire might go out. So zokokla, you will be bound to it. Zokah comes from the word like zika, like when one is obligated, let's say, to do yibum. So there's a bind that there's in heaven between the deceased, the wife, and the brother. There's a zika, a bond between them. He's bound to her, and that's the whole Yevamah speaks about that zika. That they're bound and he has to go marry her. So too here, zakuk comes from the word obligated. He's bound back. So Rava says, kavsa, if the light will be extinguished, zakukla, you are bound to it, which means you have to relight it because it went out and you need it to be lit for a half hour. So he holds kavsa zakukla umutar l'shtamish l'ayra, and you're allowed to have benefit from the flame. That's what Rava explains that Reb Huna held. he thought of this on his own. Reb Huna didn't tell him. Reb Huna just said the statement of number 5. He just said that statement that you cannot use the wicks and the oils which are weak on Chanukah.
What does it mean? Can it benefit from the flame?
Which means, are you allowed to count your money? The classic case is because you count your money by the flame of the candles, by Chanukah. So we say in Haneres Halalu, so it's going to be a big argument here, but the way we sing it in Haneres Halalu, that we are not allowed to have benefit from the candles, so you're not allowed to count your money. It's the worst of our problems. We'll have to find a new place to count our money. But you're not allowed to learn by the candles, so we'll see, but you're not allowed to have any benefit from the candles.
What was the relationship between Huna and Rabbi?
So
were they the same?
It doesn't say the relationship, but all it says is that Rava's coming to tell us the reason behind Reb Huna's statement.
They were both Amoraim.
So they're both Amoraim, and Rava apparently was later than Reb Huna. And Rava's coming to tell you that's the reason why Reb Huna said his din. Reb Huna said his din because Kavsa Zakukla. The first thing is, if the light goes out, you have to go back and relight it. You're obligated to relight it. It's not enough to light it for a second. Which means you could have, the other way to learn is Kavsa Ein Zakukla. Maybe if you light it for a minute, what was the mitzvah of lighting the candles? Is the mitzvah of lighting candles just to light it? Just to do the act of lighting? Or is the mitzvah, right? And as long as you lit, there was Persume Nisa, everyone saw you lighting it. Or maybe Kavsa Zakukla, it's not enough that you lit it and it had potential to light for a half hour. Maybe you need more. You need it to actually light for the whole half hour. And if it goes out, Kavsa Zakukla. These are the two sides of the coin. Kavsa Zakukla, Kavsa Ein Zakukla. So now, based on that, Rava wanted to say that's the reason of Reb Huna.
What's the last part?
And there's another idea. Mutar l'shtamish l'ira. He holds. Rava said that Reb Huna says you're allowed to have benefit from the light. He says there's no problem. You're allowed to count your money by the candles. You're allowed to read by the candles.
Which is good enough.
And therefore, so the Gemara, very good. Mr. Abt is picking up that the Gemara left off in the middle. So what? What is the fact that you're allowed to have benefit from the candles? What does that have to do with the fact that you're not allowed to use certain wicks and oils on Chanukah? So for this, we need to see the pshat in. Well, first let's go into kafsa. So it seems there are two different reasons that we're saying here in the Gemara. The first reason is kafsa zakukla. You're bound back to it. Now that you're satisfied with, is that explain why you're not allowed to use certain oils and wicks?
Sure.
Is that totally satisfying? Right. So Adam's saying, yeah. Why?
Well, I'm saying that it obviously makes sense. There's at least a reason, whereas being allowed to have benefit, I have no.
Okay, but at least in this part, kafsa zakukla, that part makes sense.
It's reasonable.
It's reasonable that since kafsa, since if it goes out, you'll have to relight it. Zakukla, you're bound to it. So therefore, the Chacham said, don't use any of these wicks.
Yeah, but if you're mistamish, it could go out.
Why?
And then you have to relight it.
What, from mishtamish? Why? How will it go out from the...
I don't know. Maybe it's dark in the house and you carry the menorah around to...
Let's say you're not carrying it.
I'm saying you are carrying it.
No.
I'm thinking...
And therefore it's kafta.
It's not better. It's better to be sure.
No, I hear what you want to say. You want to say that it was kafta because mutal mishtamish. So I hear what you're saying. It's an interesting idea, but the Gemara doesn't go with it. Rashi at least doesn't hold like that. Rashi seems to say that the problem is it might go out. Kavsa, these are weak oils, weak wicks, and it might go out. And if it goes out, so you won't get your mitzvah. So therefore they said...
It's more likely to go out if you use these oils.
Right.
That's why you shouldn't use these oils, then it won't go out.
Right.
It's not likely to go out.
Exactly.
You're allowed to relight it.
You're allowed to relight it. Sure.
What's the problem if it goes out?
What do I care if it goes out?
So here's a big question. Excellent question. Why does kavsa zakukla, just because you're bound back to relight it, why does that mean that I can't use a wick which is liable to go out? It could.
Sounds like it's only a problem on Shabbos.
On Shabbos there's a problem.
On Shabbos. But the problem is, when did Reb Huna say his din? Look at number 5.
In Shabbos being chol.
So we have to first start with chol. Weekday. Why on weekday can't you use bad wicks and bad oils? Because it might go out. So Mr. Apter says, kavsa, zakukla, okay. You goes out, you have to relight it. Okay, so I'll relight it. What's the problem?
Well, what do you mean to benefit from it? If you're going to be benefiting from it, but you have to start worrying about, you have to keep relighting it, it's giving you a hassle. Does that interfere with benefiting?
So what's the problem? So it will be a hassle, and then what?
I don't know. I'll let you take that.
Okay.
You have to watch it for half an hour,
You don't have to watch it. No, you don't have to watch it.
so then you might not be yoked to the mitzvah.
You say because what you might
Put the
not
light and
see,
you walk away, and then
you might not notice it goes out.
yeah.
So it's interesting. In between what you're saying, Rashi seems to ask your kasha, and Rashi seems to say almost your teretz. Look at number 7. Look at how Rashi explains the Gemara. Rashi says kavsa. If it extinguishes ner chanuka, if the light will go out, zokukla, you're bound to it lisakna. You have to fix it. Hilkach, therefore tzarech lechatchila lasais yafeh. Therefore, in the beginning, you have to make it nice. You have to make it a nice light.
It won't go out.
Says Rashi, the last 5 words. Dilma pasha v'loy misakin lo. Because we're scared that you might be a posheya.
You're not going to bother.
You might be negligent.
You're not going to bother.
Well, what do you mean bother?
Not going to bother
Relighting.
relighting it.
Why would you bother? It's a
Because
mitzvah.
it's such a... It's
No, you may have the mitzvah.
You might not be there.
You already have the mitzvah.
It's a
Yeah, the
mitzvah.
mitzvah is 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Not necessarily.
What do you mean bother?
I'm just reading the Rashi.
Well, some people,
No, Rashi doesn't say that.
You're not gonna fix
Rashi
it.
doesn't say you won't bother because,
You're negligent, meaning...
Oh, negligent. Oh, pasha. Pasha is the word to say...
What's
but
the
he's talking about
difference?
human nature, where you don't recognize your
Well,
identity.
okay, so when I thought that negligent means here, then you're not going to bother fixing it.
But why not? I'm saying why not? So
Because
Rashi's
it's
saying...
such a pain, because it's such a bad Wicks that you've...
It's going to go out again.
So you relight it. No, so...
Maybe you're not around to relight it.
So along with what you're saying, Mr. Manoyim, there seems to be a pshia. You might be a pshia. I think just the simple meaning of pshia is a negligence, right? When you learn Bava Kama or someone who's negligent, he'll say, I'll relight it in a few minutes. I just have to eat my latkes, and then we'll get back. I'll light it right away. And then you know what happens? You push it off for a few minutes, right? The Yetzer Hara, he jumps in, and that's it.
Oh, and then you don't bother.
And then you'll forget.
So soft, you don't bother.
Yeah, I'm agreeing to you. You won't bother. I'm just saying the pshia is what caused it. You'll be negligent, and that will cause you to forget or to end up that you're unable to. It says, mitzvah bal yadcha al tachmitzena. If a mitzvah comes to your hand, don't push it off because it becomes chametz. You ever see these cases? Someone calls you up for a favor. If you refuse him, you come back and I want to do the favor. It flies away. Ala mechia, benching, got to do it right away, or else it flies away. Those mitzvahs, you have to do it right away. So Rashi seems to say that we're scared he'll be a posheya, he'll be negligent. He'll use the weak wicks, the bad oils. It will go out. He'll see it go out. He's in the house, but he'll be a little negligent. He'll say, "Well, I'm in the middle of doing this right now. I'm on an important phone call. Right afterwards, I'm going to go and fix it." But he ends up, he just might get busy, posheya, and therefore he will lose the mitzvah.
You could have the best oils and the best wicks, it could still go out. There's a chashal should be pushed out.
But on the best oils and the best wicks, right? Is that a problem? We're not scared that it's going to go out. If you have a great oil, great wicks, lo yishchiach. That's not common to say that your fire is going to just go out.
There's only so much you can do anyway, right? You want to do the best you can do is what you have to do.
Right. So you put in a good oil, good wick. It's not under normal circumstances it won't go out. But when you start putting in weak oils and wicks, then it might flicker out. You're already setting yourself up that it might go out. And then the Chachamim said, we're scared. Although you could relight it, we're scared you might be posheya and lose out and lose the mitzvah. So the Chachamim said, in the first place, don't light with such oils. That's the meaning of kavsa zakukla. So Rashi is finishing up. That's why you can't use those wicks and oils. Because you're a zakukla, you're obligated back, and you might be posheya and you might forget. The Gemara says another reason. You're allowed to use the light. So Rashi says an interesting thing. Number 7, third line from the bottom. Hilkach. Therefore, bishabis aser shema yatel litzarech tashmish. Rashi says that on Shabbos it's aser because you might use it, and you might tilt it yata. It will be a weak flame, and you want to get the oil better, that the wick should flow with the oil better. So you'll tilt it litzarech tashmish for that use, and that will be the malacha of mavir, of lighting it, and that's aser on Shabbos.
That seems like a pretty strong reason.
Very strong reason.
I would list that one first. I was listening.
Well, but that only applies.
Doesn't apply.
No, it's Hanukkah.
It's only a Chol.
It only applies on Shabbos.
Right.
That will only help you for Shabbos. Shema Yata, it only helps.
Ellie, if you light your candle at your wicks and you used inferior wicks and it only lasted for 15 minutes, have you fulfilled your mitzvah?
According to Reb Huda, he says Kavsa Zakukla, you have not fulfilled your mitzvah.
No, but halacha.
You have to go back. Well, halacha, we might not rule like him. We have to see on Thursday that there will be others who argue. But he says Zakukla.
If you did fulfill
No, Zakukla. Zakukla means you're bound back to the menorah.
It has to burn for a half an hour.
Right.
Or you haven't accomplished anything.
Right.
Zero.
Right. Zakukla. You haven't gotten your mitzvah.
Okay, then in that case it is a good reason to put it first.
Up to the point that I think you might have to make a bracha, even. You might have to make a bracha
Second time you light?
the second time you light. And they asked the Rashba, I didn't copy this, but someone wrote to the Rashba and he wanted to know if he was trying to make his lights all good, and as he was lighting them, so you play around trying to fix it, and he extinguished the light. So he wrote to the Rashba, he says, what's the rule? What's the ruling on such a case? So the Rashba wrote back, since we rule, Kavsa Ein Zakukla, we rule that you don't have to go back to it. So you're not obligated to relight it. So you don't have to make a new bracha. But you could infer that, let's say we would rule Kavsa Zakukla like Reb Huna and Rava, then Zakukla means you would have to make a new bracha. You didn't get your mitzvah. Seems that your mitzvah is to not only to light it, the mitzvah of lighting it, but lighting it and having it last for a half hour is the mitzvah.
So it'll last. Let's say it lasted 15 minutes. It went out. You relit it. It lasts another 15 minutes.
Good question. I'm not sure.
Why is your second bracha like?
Who says it won't last 15 minutes? Maybe it'll last a half hour.
No, it's a half-hour candle that's already burnt halfway down.
It's a half hour.
You get credit for the first 15 minutes.
So that's a good question. I'm not sure if you combine and that's a good question. I'm not sure if it's a cumulative.
Conservative Judaism.
I'm not sure. But in any event, that's a great question. I have to think about it. Could be that you weren't yaitza because you failed in that try. You need to have it. You light it and have it lit for a half hour.
There's also the thing is, let's say it's the fourth night. One of the candles goes out. You still fulfill. Because you really only have
you got the base mitzvah. Okay, so then you got the base mitzvah. Yes, you got the mitzvah. That's true. That's true.
You really only have to have one that's gone.
That's true. You're right on that one. But we're talking, let's say, day one, or we're talking here, or they all went out. Or they all went out. Either day one or day four, but they all went out. Okay. So Reb Huna says that you can't use those bad wicks because we're scared. Kavsa, Zakukla, and you might not fix it. And we have a second reason that on Shabbos, you're going to use it, you're going to be reading, and you might come to tilt it, and that will be Mavir. So, which reason do you want him to say first?
Well, before you gave me all that other information, I was saying that the Shabbos reasons seem more compelling. That's why I would say, but now that you've said, at this stage anyway, that you wouldn't fulfill the mitzvah unless it stayed lit for half an hour, then it is more compelling.
The reason it's I don't know about more compelling, but it encompasses more because Reb Huna said you can't use these wicks on Chol or Shabbos, weekday or Shabbos. So you can't use them on weekday or Shabbos. So that reason of mutter l'shtamish loira that he said that you're allowed to have benefit from the candles, and you might come to tilt it, that doesn't help you for Shabbos. That's not a reason why. That doesn't help you for weekday. That doesn't say why you're not allowed to use weak oils on weekday.
Then again, you're over something much more severe. You transgress malacha on Shabbat.
So that's for Shabbos. Good. That's why you can't use it on Shabbos.
Quality versus quantity. You're saying time. This one encompasses.
I don't know if you're for sure going to be over.
Shabbos.
I don't know if you're for sure going to tilt it. The Chachamim said, don't use those weak oils because we're scared you might tilt it. Yeah. We're scared you might tilt it. Don't use those weak oils on Shabbos. But if he uses those weak oils and he doesn't tilt it, he didn't go against the Torah. He went against the Rabbanan who said not to use those oils.
Okay.
Now on weekday, that idea won't apply. So therefore, Reb Huna had to say, or Rava had to say, there's a second idea. There's a second idea called Kavsa Zakukla. Kavsa Zakukla means that you're bound back to relight it, and if you don't relight it, then you have not fulfilled your mitzvah, and you might be negligent and you might forget to relight it, so therefore don't use those bad oils. So that helps us for weekday. That tells us why on weekday you can't use those bad oils.
Who says it's going to go out? I mean, I could say this.
But it's liable to go out. But it's liable, if you use weak oils, it's liable to go out. So you're setting yourself up
So the same thing with Shabbat.
to lose out on the mitzvah.
Same
Not
thing
a
with
Shabbat
Shabbat.
is
a week oil.
You're liable to tilt it because it's liable to go out.
It's true. That is true.
Same thing applies.
That
That's
is true.
consistent. Whole
The liability to go out is true in all cases. That's the common denominator. But the question is, therefore what? Therefore what?
Anyway, I don't know.
Therefore what? On weekday, the therefore is that, so you might forget to relight it, and if you forget to relight it, then we're going to have a problem of what will happen. If you relight it, it's going to, you're not going to get your mitzvah.
But this is all based on the fact that there is an extended shear of time that it has to burn.
Right, there's a half hour. Your mitzvah is not only to light it, but to light it and make sure that it burns for a half hour. Get the Persume Nisa. Everyone sees you lighting it and sees it for a half hour. That's the half hour is there for a reason that everyone should be able to see it for a half hour. That's when everyone's walking through the streets. So therefore the two reasons are necessary to tell you the two different times. Chol, on weekday, Kav Sazakakla. You might forget to relight it. Shabbos is the second reason. Mutil Shtamish Laira. You could benefit from it and you might come to tilt it. So therefore that's where Rava knew what Reb Huna meant. When Reb Huna said those words on number 5, Reb Huna said that Stilis, those wicks that you can't use on Shabbos, you can't use on Chanukah, he understood that Bein B'Shabbos, Bein B'Chol, both, whether on weekday or Shabbos, you can't use those wicks. The reason is on Chol, because you might not get the mitzvah, on Shabbos, because you might tilt it. Now the question comes up,
Assuming you were trying to get benefit from it on Shabbos.
assuming that since Mutal Shabbos Laira, since you're allowed to have benefit from it,
Right.
you might read by it and
Right.
subconsciously or unconsciously.
If you weren't allowed to have
tilt
benefit from it, it wouldn't be.
If you wouldn't be able to have benefit from it, right, very good. If you wouldn't have benefit, if it would be Asr Lishtamish Bahem, then we wouldn't have any problems about you using it, because you would never come to tilt it on Shabbos.
And if you didn't have to keep it lit for a half an hour.
And if you didn't have to have it lit for a half hour, then on weekday you could also have the weak types of oils, because even if it goes out, then because you got your mitzvah if you light it right away.
Right.
But based on that, Rava says there's two new facts that I could bring into play that Reb Huna holds of. He holds that you have to see it, have it burn for a half hour as you light it, and you also have to you're allowed to use it, and therefore we're scared he's going to tilt it. Now the question is, who told Rava that both of these facts are true? Does Rava have conclusive evidence that Reb Huna holds of both of these things? Right? Rava's coming up with certainty and saying, my time of the Reb Huna. What's the reason of Reb Huna? Because he holds of both of these facts.
He could be speculating.
Well, but the question is, but who gave him a right to say so much? Which means these are the reasons, these are the variables that we have. But who gives him the right to say that he holds of both of those facts? Maybe he only holds of one of those facts. Right? For his din, maybe all Rav Huna holds of is Kav Sazakukla. Maybe he only holds of Kav Sazakukla. Maybe Rav Huna, when he said his din, he said you can't use bad oils. You know why? Because it might go out. And if it goes out, you might not fix it. So you won't get your mitzvah. And maybe that's enough. That's the only thing Rav Huna holds of. Who told Rava to say that Rav Huna really says a second thing? He also says, Mutter l'shtamish loira. He also says that you're allowed to have benefit from the light. And if you'll have benefit, you might come to tilt it. And that will be lighting on Shabbos. Who told him to put in that Rav Huna holds of two rules, two facts? Maybe he only holds of one.
Rabbi Yirmiyah.
What's Rabbi Yirmiyah?
8.
No. Without Rabbi Yirmiyah.
The opposite.
No, we're not up to there yet. No.
He wants to make a statement. He's going to substantiate.
So he has to substantiate. That's my question. How is he able to substantiate coming up with the source? He's saying, I know the reason. I know that these are the only factors which caused Reb Huna. He said he wasn't just speculating, by the way. He was saying these are the factors that cause a person not to be able to use these wicks on Shabbos, and this is the factor that caused him not to use it on Chol. And that's for sure what Reb Huna held. He didn't say I think. He said that's the reason. My timer.
They're the logical concerns, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's at play.
So my question is, good, those are both logical concerns, I'm agreeing. But my question is, but maybe one of those concerns could cover a whole week from the beginning till Shabbos, including Shabbos.
But it's true, the first concern does that. However, he's just specifying that there's even more concern by Shabbos. It's both factors.
But the question is, but who told you that he holds of that additional concern? It might be true. It might be something maybe to be concerned about, but how do you know that Rav Huna was concerned about it?
He knew Shas.
What do you do, Shas? This is Shas. We're developing Shas as we're talking right now. It's developing. It's under progress. Which means that maybe Rav Huna only held of Kavsa Zakukla. He only held. The only problem is that a person is negligent, and it might go out, and he'll push it off, and he won't end up relighting it. And that will tell you that on weekday you're gonna have a problem, because weekday you might push it off. You'll be busy with the Chanukah parties, and you won't push it off. And on Shabbos, if it goes out, he won't relight it because he's not allowed to relight it. So that's even worse. There's no chance he's going to relight it. So on Shabbos and weekday, he's going to end up, if he uses these bad wicks, he's going to end up losing out on a mitzvah. So therefore the Chachamim said, maybe that's why Reb Huna said you can't use these bad wicks and oils. Because he was scared you might come to lose out on your mitzvah. Where did Rava get this knowledge from to say that Reb Huna held also that mutal shtamish lo, that you're also allowed to have use from the candles, and after you're allowed to have use from it, you might come to tilt it, and on Shabbos, it's something which you could think is logical, but how did he know that Reb Huna held of that concern also? Maybe he only held of one concern.
And how did he know that you can make use of it? Because we normally hold that you cannot make use of it.
What do you mean normally? You're coming after the Gemara which came around. We're in the Gemara at this stage. It was an argument in the Beis Medrash. Imagine the Beis Medrash. Reb Huna was arguing at this minute, or Rava was arguing and saying, I think you could have benefit from the candles. And we'll see in the next line that maybe Reb Chisda said, or Reb Zera by number 8, Reb Zera said, you're not allowed to have benefit. But it's in development right now if you're allowed to have benefit.
I'm adding to your question, like how does he know that Rav Huna holds that you can have benefit?
So it's assumed that because he saw Rav Huna's words. Rav Huna said on Shabbos you can't use these bad wicks. So it's assumed that the problem of Shabbos was you might come to tilt it. The only problem of tilting it is only if you're allowed to use the candles.
Who was it that concluded tilting it is increasing the flame?
Come to light it, not come to tilt it.
The problem is, well, it depends. Which day?
On Shabbos.
On Shabbos, the problem is you might come to tilt it.
No, you might come to.
And when you tilt it, that's lighting it.
No, that might go out, and then you might come.
Yeah, but on Shabbos, he'll know it's Shabbos, so he won't come to relight it.
Nobody's worried.
And that's the problem. That's why you can't use bad oil.
No. But we're not scared that he's going to forget it's Shabbos and relight it. But we're scared that he might come to tilt it unconsciously as he's reading, and the light gets weak, so he'll just tilt the candle, the oil.
Okay, but
who argued that tilting it is relighting?
That's why it works for both Shabbos and during the weekday. That's why he's saying for both Shabbos and the weekday you mustn't use bad oil, because on the weekday it might go out and then you have to relight it, and on Shabbos you can't relight it.
Oh, so the whole reason a whole week you're saying is right? That's the question. Maybe a whole week. The reason is because Kavsa Zakukla.
Right.
Who argued that tilting it is increasing the flame?
Everyone says that. If someone tilts a fire on Shabbos when it's weak, he's doing mavir, even if it's still lit. And you now, let's say it's getting a weak light, and you put more oil in, that is also lighting a candle. Increasing the flame is also turning it up, right? Like turning up an oven on Shabbos.
I'm not arguing that it shouldn't be. I'm saying, who was it who put that argument forward originally?
Who said that if you tilt it, it's lighting a flame?
Yeah.
No, that's a given. That already we had even by Shabbos. Rashi said it on Shabbos. That's why on Shabbos you can't use bad wicks, right? Number 2, we said you can't use bad wicks on Shabbos, and the reason was, said Rashi, the last line on number 4 was she'einim shachim, because they don't flow well. Ve'ati lahatis, you come to tilt it. So there we saw on Shabbos already that there's a suspicion there.
I'm trying to figure out why he understood that Rav Huna had the position that he had.
Because he didn't understand on Shabbos.
Did Reb Huna have a position specifically about the tilting?
Rabbi didn't know. Rabbi didn't have prior knowledge, but he deduced it from the fact that on Shabbos you're not allowed to use bad wicks and bad oils. Why? What possible reason could there be for not using bad wicks?
Maybe because of the Mishnah, Ein Madlikin.
Also, Shabbos.
Ein Madlikin, you can't use bad wicks and oils on Shabbos.
You can or you can't?
Well, there's certain wicks which are very bad. You can't use them on Shabbos. And Rabbi said. Reb Huna said, also on Chanukah you can't use those bad wicks. Shabbos and Chol. That was his statement.
Shabbos wouldn't be an issue unless it was mutar l'ishtamesh l'ora.
Right, and Shabbos is an issue since you're allowed to read by it, so you might come to read or do something and come to tilt it.
That's why he said that reason.
That's why he said
Shabbos wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't permissible to read to benefit by the light.
It wouldn't be issue number 2.
Then nobody's going to light it on.
No, but Shabbos can be
So the only issue must be tilting it, and tilting it won't be an issue unless you're allowed to benefit next to it.
Exactly.
Therefore, he had to say lishtamesh mutar lishtamesh.
Right, that's one issue for Shabbos. That's one issue that's very relevant to Shabbos.
No, because the Shabbos is 2 issues. Shabbos is if it goes out, you can't relight it.
Yeah.
And Shabbos is if you've got a very weak flame, then you'll come to tilt it. Because you'll come to tilt it because you can derive benefit. Because you can derive benefit.
No, but the assumption is nobody's going to relight it on Shabbos.
No, but
the assumption is
so you
somebody
can't
might.
relight it. No, you're not going to relight it, but you don't get the mitzvah. So you can't relight it, so you don't get the mitzvah. So that's your issue. Not that you're going to relight it. And then if you've got a weak flame, because you can derive benefit from it, then you may have to tilt it, and then you're offside because you've got a weak flame because it's bad oil or a bad wick.
2 separate reasons. If you listen carefully to his words,
Shabbos.
2 different reasons. You're saying one reason. One reason is for Shabbos, mutar l'shtamish l'ora, you could have benefit, you might come to tilt. But he's saying beautifully that there's another reason which is applicable to Shabbos. That kavsta, it might go out. And if it goes out, zokuk law, you're bound to it. You can't do it on Shabbos, so you'll have to say, oh yeah, I feel bad, and I'm not getting my mitzvah. So you're losing out on a mitzvah. So the Chachamim will say this same by the same factor. They'll say on Shabbos you should also not use bad wicks because you might look at it on Shabbos and say, wow, it's going out and I can't do anything. You're going to lose your mitzvah. It's nothing to do with even your pshia. Here it's not going to be that you're negligent. Here it's going to be that you can just sit back and watch on Shabbos and say, what can I do? You're going to lose your mitzvah. So that's the second reason why on Shabbos you can't use these bad wicks and oils.
So what's all?
So now let's see Taisus.
Far good oil.
Let's see number 10. Says the top. Let's go to the top by number 10. And let's see Tosus on the top left-hand corner. Umutter l'shtamish l'ira. V'im toimar. And if you will say, Minole l'Rava. Who told Rava, Disavar Reb Huna, that Reb Huna holds mutter l'shtamish l'ira. That this second reason is applicable also, that you're allowed to have benefit from the candle, from the wicks, and you will then come to tilt it, which will help out the flame, and that will be a malach on Shabbos. Dilma, maybe he doesn't hold of that reason. Maybe you know why he said you can't use these wicks on Shabbos? Bishum desavar kavsa zakukla, because he holds kavsa zakukla, and if it will go out, you're bound to relight it. And now you can't relight it on Shabbos, so you're going to be stuck and you're going to lose the mitzvah. So therefore, maybe that's why the Chachamim said, don't use the weak oils. Bein b'chol, bein b'Shabbos. That's the reason of Reb Huna, maybe. So with this Taisus, this is Taisus' question. V'yesh loymar, so Taisus advances an answer. V'yesh loymar, the imkain. Because if that were so, if there was only one reason which Reb Huna meant to say that he had in mind for bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos, why you can't light it on weekday or Shabbos, then lehavi tzarich leila meimar, he did not have to express it to say bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos. What are the words of Reb Huna? Let's go back to number 5. Reb Huna said, "Pesila sheshmanu she'amar chacham ein madlikim ben b'Chanukah bein b'Shabbos bein b'chol." He spoke out in a statement that you cannot use them whether on Shabbos, whether on Chol. Why did he have to come and make explicit mention of Bein b'Shabbos, Bein b'Chol? Sounds like there's 2 different areas that we're talking about, 2 different times, which are separate reasons. Why didn't he just say one thing? The wicks that we said that you can't use on Shabbos, Ein madlikim ben b'Shabbos, Ein madlikim ben b'Chanukah. He should have just said you can't use them on Chanukah. Why did he have to go into detail, can't use them on Chanukah, whether Chanukah is on weekday or whether it's Chanukah of Shabbos? You don't have to go into those details. From the fact that we seem to be speaking out, Shabbos, you can't use these. Shabbos Chanukah, you can't use those wicks for your menorah. And Chol, weekday of Chanukah, you can't use those wicks. Seems to say that there are two different reasons. One for Shabbos and one for Chol. And therefore Tosa says, you should not have said Bein B'chol, Bein B'Shabbos.
Isn't he just extending? I'm going to argue, like, maybe he's just extending it. These candles you can't, wicks you can't use for Shabbos. And when it comes to Chanukah, not only can you not use them on Shabbos, but you can't even use them on Chol. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, but if you go by the precept that there's no words that are,
it from Shabbos
they're not just put words in for the sake of putting in words. We would have said you can't use it on Chanukah. Full stop. Period. Well, how much more clear can you be? Why do you have to go and separate?
Which means, right? The question: what do you want to know? If he should?
I'm just saying his statement sounded like, okay, we have this problem with these kind of wicks on Shabbos, and now we have. And now we also have them on Hanukkah, whether it's Shabbos or even on Chol, it's also a problem.
Even Chol.
Why do you have to say Ben Shabbos
well, once you have
in the first place?
Yeah.
Why do you have to
Here, have an answer for an answer.
What would be a given you couldn't use on Shabbos?
Why do you need the last part? Why can't you say
Right.
Because Shabbat, Hanukkah, Chol, Ben Shabbat.
Right. You should have just said the lights they don't use on Shabbos, you can't use on Hanukkah. So therefore, Tosfos says from the fact that he made two categories, it seems that there's two separate categories with two separate reasons, and therefore, okay, we'll have to continue on Thursday and go further, and we'll go into this. You can think about it over the week, tomorrow, and think deeply, because we have to go into this whole idea of the two reasons. But this is a great start. Okay. Yeah.